IXL section S.16, compare linear functions, tables, graphs, and equations. This IXL is very similar to the one that you had in the class before this one, S15. It's pretty much the same thing. They're just adding, I believe, tables now also to the questions. So in the first question, it says function A and B are linear functions. So they're asking us which statement is true. Is the slope of function A greater than or less than the slope of function B? So I got to get the slope. So for function B, the slope is right here. It's 2. For function A, I got to calculate the slope using this formula. Para la función A, tengo que calcular el slope usando esta fórmula para poder comparar los dos slopes, cuál es más grande, cuál es más pequeño. Okay, so well, what am I doing? Okay, so remember you just label two pairs. Let's just use this one, x1, y1, and x2, y2, and substitute. And you could also do it mental math, right? Because it's always going to be the y minus the y and the x minus the x. The y is going on the top. So on the top, -3 minus -9. And on the bottom, -1 minus -3. Okay, so when you do that, you're going to get -3 plus 9, which is +6. -3 plus 9, which is +6. And on the bottom, -1 plus 3, which is +2. And that's going to equal 3. Your slope is 3. Look, let me show you how you could have done that mental math. I've already done this entire IXL, and this little technique works on all of them. You could just ignore, for these questions that you're going to have on this IXL, you could just look at this and the negative signs, a lot of the times you could ignore them, okay? And just say the difference between 9 and 3 is 6. The difference between 3 and 1 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. That's the answer I got here without doing all that work. You should know how to do it the correct way. And there may be one or two where this doesn't apply. But I'm just showing you that for a lot of these, you could just do this mental math. Again, all I'm doing is looking that the difference between these two numbers is 6. And the difference between these two numbers is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. All right, and that gave me the slope. And that one you could do mental math. So in this one, the slope of function A is greater than the slope of function B. Okay, en la mayoría de estos problemas que están en este IXL, lo que yo acabo de hacer aquí se puede hacer en la mente sin hacer todo este trabajo. No siempre trabaja esto, ok, pero por ejemplo aquí puedo ignorar los signos negativos y ver la diferencia entre 9 y 3, la diferencia es 6. Y la diferencia entre 3 y 1 es 2. 6 dividido por 2 me da el slope que es 3. ¿Ok? Lo tienen que saber hacer de la forma correcta, pero también se deben dar cuenta de cuando se puede hacer en la mente de la manera que acabo de decir. All right, let's look at the next one. All right, in this one, we're also comparing the slope. Okay, so we got to compare the slopes. Tenemos que comparar los dos slopes. So for function A, again, look, if you do my little technique, for example, these two and these two, the difference between 13 and 8 is 5. The difference between 2 and 1 is 1. 5 over 1 is 5. So the slope of this one is going to be 5. I'll do it the correct way as well. But I'm telling you, the answer is 5. Or not the answer, but the slope is 5. Si hacen de la manera que le acabé de explicar, la diferencia entre 13 y 8 es 5. Y entre 2 y 1 es 1. Así que 5 sobre 1 va a ser el slope. Déjame comprobarlo aquí para que vean. Alright, so x1, y1, x2, y2. Alright, so on the top it's going to be -8 minus -13. And on the bottom it's going to be -1 minus -2. That's going to become -8 plus 13 on the top and -1 plus 2 on the bottom. which is going to equal 5 over 1. So the slope is 5, the slope. Okay, and by the way, I'll show you how to do it with the bottom two as well in a second. But first, so the slope of function A is 5. And the slope of function B, if I use this point and this point, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. The rise is 4, and the run is 1. Okay, 4 over 1 equals 4. All right, so the slope of function A is 5. The slope of function B is 4. So the slope of function A is greater than the slope of function B. El slope de la función A es mayor que el slope de función B, porque de B es 4. And let me see, my little technique, if you do it this way, if you do it with the bottom two, all right, first of all, realize this one's negative and this one's positive. So the distance from negative 8 to 2 is 10. And the distance from negative 1 to positive 1 is 2. 10 over 2 is 5. All right, so I mean, if the signs are different, I'm just calculating it in my head. I'm doing it the correct way, just mentally. But again, the better you know how to add and subtract integers, the easier this will be for you. If you don't know if you're not good at adding and subtracting integers, you're gonna have to do more work and write everything out. All right. So the next example. All right. This one's talking about the y-intercept. So we got to compare the y-intercept. Tenemos que comparar el y-intercept en este. All right, so in function A, the y-intercept is negative 2, right there. En la función A, el y-intercept es negativo 2. For function B, okay, I'm going to write the equation. I'm going to write the equation for the line, I'm going to write the equation for function B, and in order to find the y-intercept. So first thing I need is the slope. Okay, para escribir la ecuación para función B y encontrar el y-intercept, lo primero que necesito es slope. Alright, so on the top you're going to do 18 minus 12. On the bottom, 8 minus 5. So the slope is going to be 6 over 3, which is 2. You could have done that mental math, alright? Así que el slope es 2. Alright, now, let me just go like that. Okay, now to find y equals 2x plus b. Alright, let me just erase all that stuff. Y equals 2x plus b. So now to find out what the y-intercept is, I gotta substitute an x and a y. So let's just use the smallest value, which is that. Para encontrar qué valor tiene el y-intercept, voy a sustituir para x y uno de estos coordinados, un par de coordinados. Así que vamos a ver 5 y 12. So I put the 12 where y is and the 5 where x is. Alright, so I get 10 plus b equals 12. Now subtract both sides by 10. And you're going to get b equals 2. Alright, so the equation for function b is y equals 2x plus 2. The plus 2 is the y-intercept, okay? So the question is, which y-intercept is greater? This one's is negative 2. This one's positive 2. So the y-intercept of function A is less than the y-intercept of function B, okay? El y-intercept de función A es menos que el y-intercept de función B, porque el de función B es el número 2 positivo. All right. Here again, the slope, we gotta compare the slope. Tenemos que comparar el slope. This one's mental math. Come on. That one, the difference between 5 and 1 is 4. The difference between 3 and 1 is 2. So 4 over 2. The slope of function A is 2. And the slope of function B is 5. So the slope of function A is less than the slope of function B. Alright? Este se puede ver que la diferencia de los valores de Y es 4 sobre 2, que te da un slope de positivo 2 para la función A. Y el slope de función B es 5. Así que el slope de función A es menos que el slope de función B. All right. I put the same one twice there. All right, here we go. All right, so now we're again comparing the y-intercept. Okay, estamos comparando el y-intercept. So the y-intercept for function A is -2. El y-intercept para función A es -2. For function B, I'm going to write out the equation for that function. So first thing I'm going to do is find the slope. Primero encuentro el slope. This one is really easy, mental math. The difference between -7 and -6 is 1. The difference between -2 and -1 is 1. And 1 over 1 equals 1. So the slope is going to be 1. El slope para función B va a ser positivo 1. And when it's positive 1, you don't write it. Cuando es positivo 1, no se escribe. Alright, now I'm just going to substitute. Let's substitute this pair right here because they're small and easy to use. Vamos a usar esto 5 y 0 para sustituir para X y Y encontrar el valor de B. Alright, so when I substitute those, I'm going to get 0 equals 5 plus B. So that means that when I move the 5 to the left and subtract, B equals -5. So the equation of function B is y equals x minus 5, and the y-intercept is -5. So we're comparing -2 to -5. El y-intercept de función B es -5 y el de función A es -2. So the correct answer is that the y-intercept of function A is greater than the y-intercept of function B, because -2 is greater than -5. El y-intercept de función A es mayor que el y-intercept de función B, porque -5 es mayor que dije eso mal. -2 es mayor que -5. Alright, here again we're comparing the slope. Estamos comparando el slope. So I would use these two. The two on the bottom are going to be easier because they're both positive. So yo lo haría con los dos de abajo porque son positivos, así que va a ser más fácil. The difference between 13 and 9 is 6. The difference between 5 and 8 is 3. So 6 over 3 equals 2. So the slope of function A is positive 2. El slope de función A es positivo 2. Porque la diferencia entre 13 y 19 es 6. Y entre 5 y 8 es 3. 6 sobre 3 me da 2. And the slope of function B is 5. So in this one, the slope of function A is less than the slope of function B. El slope de función A es menos que el slope de función B. Alright, in this one, we're comparing the y-intercept. Estamos comparando el y-intercept. So for function B, I'm going to first get the slope. The slope is going to be 2 over 1, which equals 2. El slope para función B es 2. Alright, so I got this, y equals 2x plus b. In order to find out what b is, I'm going to substitute any xy pair that you have here. I'm going to use 5 and 10 because they're positive and it should make it easier. Okay? Para encontrar el valor de b, voy a substituir el 5 y el 10 para x y y. And when I work that out, I'm going to end up getting 0 for my y-intercept. Alright, so y equals 2x plus 0. My y-intercept is 0. You don't write it. El y-intercept para la función B es 0, así que no se escribe aquí en la forma slope-intercept. So when we compare, positive 1 is the y-intercept for function A, and 0 is the y-intercept for function B. So the y-intercept of function A is greater than the y-intercept of function B. Cuando lo comparo, el y-intercept de función A es 1 y el de función B es 0. Así que el de función A es mayor que el de función B. Alright, now they get a little more interesting where we got to actually work it out for a value. In this case, they want you to compare the y value of function A when x equals 7 to the y value of function b when x equals 7. Aquí tenemos que comparar el valor para y en función a cuando x es igual a 7 y en función b cuando x es igual a 7. So let's do function a first. Okay? So I gotta substitute 7 for x. Para función a tengo que sustituir 7 para x. When I do that, it's going to say y equals 7 minus 5. Right? 7 minus 5. So y was going to equal 2. Alright, when x equals 7, y equals 2 in function a. Cuando x es igual a 7, y es igual a 2 en la función a. Now for function b, I got to do the same thing, but the first thing I got to do is write the equation for function b. Okay, en función b tengo que hacer lo mismo, pero primero necesito escribir la ecuación para función b. Alright, so the slope, I'm going to use the bottom two coordinates to find the slope. So the difference between 7 and 9 is 2. The difference between 4 and 6 is 2. 2 over 2 equals 1. 2 over 2 equals 1. So the slope of function b is 1. And when it's 1, I don't need to write it. Okay, it's right here, it's invisible, okay? El slope para función b es 1 y cuando es 1 no se escribe. Alright, now to find out what b is, I'm going to substitute I'm going to use the smallest pair here, so let's use 4 and 7. Okay, para encontrar que es b, voy a sustituir para x, y, 4 y 7. Puedo usar cualquiera de estos, yo voy a usar lo que creo que son más fácil, que sería 4 y 7. So 7 goes here, 4 goes here, and when I solve for b, I'm going to get 3. So b equals 3. So my equation is y equals x plus 3 for function b. La ecuación para función b sería y igual a x más 3. So when I substitute x equals 7, cuando sustituyo x igual a 7, I'm going to get y equals 10 for function b. Para función b me da y igual a 10. So the correct answer is the y value of function a when x equals 7 is less than the y value of function b when x equals 7. Okay, la respuesta correcta es el valor de y para función a cuando x es igual a 7 es menos que el valor para y en función b cuando x es igual a 7. Alright, here we go. On this one, we're comparing the y-intercept. Estamos comparando el y-intercept. So for function a, the y-intercept is positive 4. For function b, I got to write out the equation. So first of all, the slope is going to be, the difference here is 1, and the difference here is 5. So the slope is going to be 1 over 5. El slope va a ser 1 sobre 5. Now to find the y-intercept, I'm gonna substitute negative 5 and 0 for x and y. Para encontrar el y-intercept voy a sustituir negativo 5 y 0 para x y y. When I multiply here, I'm going to get negative 5 over 5, which equals negative 1. Esto me da, cuando lo multiplico, negativo 5 sobre 5, que me da negativo 1. Now move negative 1 to the left by adding it to both sides, and you're going to get b equals 1. Okay, el y-intercept es 1 en función b. So the correct answer is that the y-intercept of function a is greater than the y-intercept of function b. Alright, so in this one, we gotta substitute a value for x and see what we get for y and compare them. Tenemos que sustituir este valor para x en los dos y ver qué es lo que nos da para y comparar los dos. So in function a, when I substitute x equals 1, I'm going to get y equals 2 times 1 plus 1. 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So y equals 3 for function a. In function b, the slope, let's use the bottom two because they're both positive numbers. The difference between 7 and 11 is 4. The difference between 3 and 4 is 1. So the slope is going to be 4 over 1, which equals 4. Okay, so el slope para función b es 4. Y ahora voy a sustituir el 3 y el 7 para X y Y para encontrar lo que es el Y-intercept. I'm going to substitute 3 and 7 for X and Y to find out what's the Y-intercept. So I'm going to have 7 equals 12 plus B. Now subtract 12 from both sides, and I'll get B equals negative 5. So my equation for function B is Y equals 4X minus 5. La ecuación para función B sería Y igual a 4X menos 5. Now I substitute X equals 1. Ahora sustituyo X igual a 1. So 4 times 1 is 4. So Y equals 4 minus 5. So Y equals negative 1 in function B. So now I compare this one to this one. The 3 is bigger than negative 1. So the correct answer is that the Y value of function A when X equals 1 is greater than the Y value of function B when X equals 1. Alright, so in this one we're comparing the Y-intercept. The Y-intercept in function B is negative 4. El Y-intercept de función B es negativo 4. In this one, the slope is going to be the difference between 11 and 8 is 3. And the difference between the 8 and the 4 is 4. So the slope is going to be 3 over 4. It's a fraction. Okay, para este, el slope es 3 sobre 4. So I got this. Okay, now to find out what the Y-intercept is, I'm going to substitute, let's use this one, 8 and 1 for X and Y. Voy a sustituir el 8 y el 1 para X y Y. Let me do it over here. So 1 equals 3 over 4 times 8 plus B. Alright, the quick way to multiply this is 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 2 times 3 is 6. That's the quick way. The slow way, well, let me say the quick way one more time. 8 divided by 4 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6. La manera rápido de multiplicar esto sería 8 dividido por 4 te da 2 y 2 por 3 te da 6. The slow way, la manera despacita sería, the slow way would be 8 times 3 is 24. And 4 times the one that's down here is 4. And when you simplify that, you're going to get the same thing I told you, which is 6. Okay, la manera despacita sería 8 por 3, 24. 4 por 1 me da 4. Y 24 dividido por 4 me da 6. Alright, now just move the 6 to the left by subtracting from both sides. And you're gonna get that B equals negative 5. So the equation is Y equals 3 over 4X minus 5, which means that the slope intercept is negative 5. And in this one, I'm sorry, the slope intercept, what did I just say? The Y-intercept is negative 5, and this is function A. Okay, this is for function A. And in function B, the Y-intercept is negative 4. So negative 4 is greater than negative 5. Negative 5 is less than negative 4. So the correct answer is that the Y-intercept of function A is less than the Y-intercept of function B. Okay? Para función A, el Y-intercept es negativo 5 y eso es menos que el Y-intercept de función B, que es negativo 4. Así que la respuesta correcta es el Y-intercept de función A es menos que el Y-intercept de función B. Again, with the Y-intercept, so basically same question. Is this the one I just did? No. All right. All right, so for function B, the Y-intercept is negative 4 again. For function A, let me go through the same steps. All right, so in function A, I mean, the easiest one to use is the bottom two right here. The difference between 3 and 4 is 1, and between 3 and 6 is 3. So the slope is going to be 1 over 3 for function A. Now let's substitute 3 and 3 for X and Y in order to solve for the Y-intercept. When you multiply this, you're going to get 3 over 3, which equals 1. Cuando se multiplica esto, te da 3 sobre 3, que es igual a 1. Now just move the 1 to the left by subtracting, and you're going to get b equals 2. So for function a, the equation in slope form would be, in slope-intercept form, I'm sorry, would be y equals 1 over 3x plus 2. So that means that the y-intercept is positive 2, and in function b, the y-intercept is negative 4. So the correct answer is the y-intercept of function a is greater than the y-intercept of function b. Okay, let me show you something that I think, for some reason, I think I didn't do it this way in when I explained IXL S.16, the one you had in the previous class. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I did, but I can't remember right now. So just in case, for these questions where they want to know what the y value of function a is when x equals 10, here's function a. If they give you a graph, you could just look at when x equals 10, what is y? Again, I can't remember if I said that during the last class. If I didn't, I should have, because that's a really, you could do these really fast when they give you a graph. So when x equals 10, y equals 4. When x equals 10, y equals 4. You could just look at it really quickly on the graph. For function b, I gotta work it out the same way that I was doing a second ago. So I'll do that right now. Let me just re-explain this in Spanish. No me recuerdo si expliqué esto en la última clase. Si no lo expliqué de esta manera, eso era un error de mi parte porque lo deben hacer de esta manera. Cuando le dan un gráfico y, por ejemplo, aquí le están preguntando qué es el valor de y en la función a cuando x es igual a 10, simplemente miro cuando x es igual a 10, qué número es y en la línea. Ok, así que cuando x es igual a 10, déjame dibujar esto. Cuando x es igual a 10, y es igual a 4. Cuando x es 10, y es 4. Simplemente lo puedo hacer de esa manera cuando te dan un gráfico de una línea. Para función b lo tengo que hacer de la manera que lo he estado haciendo. Así que déjame empezar encontrando el slope. La diferencia entre 0 y 4 es 4. Y la diferencia entre negativo 5 y positivo 5 sería 10. Así que el slope es 4 sobre 10, que cuando se simplifica para función b, cuando se simplifica dividiendo arriba y abajo por 2, te daría 2 sobre 5. Alright, so the slope is 4 over 10, because remember the distance from negative 5 to positive 5 is 10. So 4 over 10, and when you simplify that by dividing the top and the bottom by 2, you get 2 over 5. So for function b, the slope is 2 over 5. And now to find the y-intercept, I'm gonna, you know what? Let me erase some stuff here. Y equals 2 over 5x plus b. So to find the y-intercept, let's substitute for x and y. I'm gonna use this pair right here. So y is 0 and x is negative 5. The fast way of multiplying this would be negative 5 divided by 5 is negative 1. And negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. La manera rápida de multiplicar esto sería primero hacer negativo 5 dividido por 5 te da negativo 1. Y negativo 1 por 2 te da negativo 2. The slow way would be to multiply negative 5 times 2 and you get negative 10 on the top. And 5 times 1 is 5 on the bottom. Okay, la manera despacito sería... de arriba por el de arriba se multiplica y te da negativo 10 y el de abajo por el de abajo. Alright, so negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2. And now move negative 2 to the left by adding. And you're going to have b equals 2. So that means y equals 2 over 5x plus 2. Okay, now when I substitute x equals 10, cuando sustituyo x igual a 10, I'm running out of space here, so let me erase here. Y equals 2 over 5x plus 2. Y equals 2 over 5x plus 2. Alright, so when I substitute x equals 10, cuando sustituyo x igual a 10, Again, the more that you could do mental math, the quicker this is going to be and easier. The fast way is 10 divided by 5 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Ok, la manera rápido sería 10 dividido por 5 es 2 y 2 por 2 es 4. The slow way would be 2 times 10 is 20 over 5, which is going to give you 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. So when x equals 10, y equals 6 in function B, and in function A, when x equals 10, y equals 4. So the correct answer is the y value of function A when x equals 10 is less than the y value of function B when x equals 10. En función A, cuando x es igual a 10, y es 4. Y en función B, cuando x es igual a 10, y es 6. Así que la respuesta correcta es que el valor de y para función A cuando x es igual a 10 es menos que el valor de y para función B cuando x es igual a 10. Alright, next one. We're almost done. Almost there. Okay, so here we're comparing the slope. Estamos comparando el slope otra vez. So the slope of function A is 1 over 5. Oh, and I'm going to talk about this one. Alright, and in function B, the slope is going to be 3 over 2. 3 over 2. Alright, so listen, because I had someone from this class ask me about this one from the previous lesson. The way you compare fractions, if you're trying to compare 1 over 5 versus 3 over 2, alright, 1 over 5, change it to a decimal. How do you change it to a decimal? If you forgot, do 1 divided by 5, alright? 5 does not fit into 1, so you put a decimal point and a 0. 5 goes into 10 2 times. So 1.5 equals 0.2. Now let's do the same thing with 3 over 2. Alright, divide 3 by 2. 2 goes into 3 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. Remainder 1. Now I put a decimal point and I bring down this 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. And now there's no more remainder. Alright, so 3 over 2 equals 1.5. So now I can compare them easily. 0.2 is obviously less than 1.5, a lot less than 1.5. So the answer is the slope of function A is less than the slope of function B. Did you have to do that? No, you could have also, like if you already understand the relationship, 1 out of 5 is a lot less than 3 out of 2. Think about this. If you have a pizza, 1 out of 5 slices versus if you have a pizza, 3 out of 2 slices, that's more than what you have. That's why this number is greater than 1. Alright, so this is obviously less than this one. Si tienen fracciones y tienen que comparar las fracciones y no entienden bien cuál es mayor y cuál es más pequeño, lo deben entender sin tener que hacer esto, pero por si acaso, si quieren estar seguros, dividen el numerador por el denominador. El número de arriba por el de abajo. Así que 1 dividido por 5 me da 0.2. Y 3 dividido por 2 me da 1.5. Y ahora sí puedo comparar y estar seguro cuál es más grande y cuál es más pequeño. Obviamente 0.2 es menos que 1.5. Así que la respuesta correcta es que el slope de función A es menos que el slope de función B. Alright, now these are the questions you're going to have in the challenge zone, just like in the last IXL that we did. Okay, where you got to select all the statements that are true, and there may be more than one correct answer. Maybe. Sometimes it only has one correct answer, though. Estas son las preguntas que tienen a la vez que llegan a 90 puntos y pueden haber más que una respuesta correcta. So, okay, the first thing we got to compare are the slopes here. Lo primero que tenemos que comparar son los slopes. So for function A, the slope would be, if I use this point and this point, the slope would be 1, 2, 3 over 2. So the slope of function A is 3 over 2. el slope de función A es 3 sobre 2. And for function B, if I use the top two, it would be 2 over 6. 2 over 6, when you simplify that by dividing the top and the bottom by 2, you get 1 over 3. Alright, para función B, el slope es 1 sobre 3. Alright, so 3 over 2 versus 1 over 3, this one is bigger, a lot bigger. Because when I divide them, if you divide 3 by 2, you're going to get 1.5. Si divido 3 por 2, me da 1.5. And if you divide 1 by 3, you're going to get 0.3 repeating. Okay? Si divido estos dos, me da 0.3. El 3 sigue repitiendo hasta el infinito. So the slope of function A is greater than the slope of function B. Now for the second part, I gotta compare the y value of function A when x equals 6 versus the y value of function B when x equals 6. Alright, so before I get rid of this information, for function A, I could just look at the graph. When x equals 6, y equals 6. Alright? When x equals 6, y equals 6. So that one, I don't have to do anything, okay? Para función A, cuando x es igual a 6, simplemente miro el gráfico, y es igual a 6. Cuando x es igual a 6, y es igual a 6. Okay, for function B, I gotta finish writing out the equation. Para función B, tengo que terminar escribiendo la ecuación. Alright, so let me make sure I didn't make a mistake here. 2 over 6. 1 over 3. Okay. Alright, so sorry about that. I was thinking here. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to substitute the bottom two for x and y in order to find the y-intercept, okay? Para función B, voy a sustituir 9 y 8 para x y y para encontrar el y-intercept. When I do that, I'm going to have 8 equals 1 over 3 times 9 plus b. This is the same as saying 9 divided by 3, which is going to equal 3. Esto es lo mismo que diciendo 9 dividido por 3, que me da 3. Alright, now to solve for b, subtract both sides by 3. So b equals 5. Okay, así que b igual a 5. So my equation for function b is y equals 1 over 3x plus 5. Now if I substitute 6, if I substitute x equals 6, si sustituyo x igual a 6, I'm going to have 1 over 3 times 6 plus 5. 1 over 3 times 6, that's the same as 6 divided by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Because when I multiply that, you're going to get 6 over 3, which equals 2. Cuando multiplico esto, me da 6 sobre 3, que me da 2. Y 2 más 5 me da 7. Alright, so for function B, when x equals 6, y equals 7, versus function A, when x equals 6, y equals 6. So the answer is the y value of function A when x equals 6 is less than the y value of function B when x equals 6. El valor de y cuando x es 6 en función A es menos que el valor de y para función B cuando x es igual a 6. Alright, next one. Alright, so first we're going to compare the slopes. Primero voy a comparar los slopes. For function A, it's going to be 2 over 4. 2 over 4, which equals 1/2. So the slope for function A is 1 over 2. El slope para función A es 1 sobre 2. And for function B, para función B, it's 3 over 5. 3 over 5. So if you're not sure which one's bigger and which one's smaller, divide the numerator by the denominator. For function A, you're going to get 0.5. Si no están seguros, dividen el numerador por el denominador. Para función A me da 0.5. For function B, when you do 3 divided by 5, you're going to get 0.6. Si lo divido, me da 0.6. So that means that the slope of function A is less than, the slope of function A is less than the slope of function B. El slope de función A es menos que el slope de función B. Okay, now let's compare the y values when x equals 10. Okay, vamos a comparar los valores de y cuando x es igual a 10. So for function A, let me do it over here. The slope was 1/2. So now I'm going to solve for B by substituting -2 and -2 for x and y. Para función A, el slope era 1 sobre 2. Ahora para encontrar el y-intercept voy a sustituir -2 y -2 para x y y. That's going to give me, when I multiply this, I'm going to get -2 over 2, which equals -1. Cuando multiplico esto me da -2 sobre 2, que me da -1 cuando lo divido. Now, B is going to equal -1. So that means my equation is y equals 1/2 x minus 1. La ecuación es y igual a 1 sobre 2 x menos 1. Y equals 1/2 x minus 1. Y equals 1/2 x minus 1. Alright, so now when I substitute x equals 10, cuando sustituyo x igual a 10, I'm going to have y equals 1/2 10 minus 1. Half of 10 is 5. La mitad de 10 es 5. And 5 minus 1 equals 4. So in function A, when x equals 10, y equals 4. When x equals 10, y equals 4. That's what that means. When x equals 10, y equals 4. En la función A, cuando x es 10, y es igual a 4. And in function B, when x equals 10, y equals 3. En la función B, cuando x es 10, y es 3. So the correct answer is the y value of function A when x equals 10 is less than the y value of function B when x equals 10. El valor de y en función A cuando x es igual a 10 es menos que el valor de y en función B cuando x es igual a 10. And I had already answered the top part, which was, I believe, yeah, it was this one. The slope of function A is less than the slope of function B. All right. So on this one, first we got to compare the slopes. Primero tenemos que comparar los slopes. So on the top one, the slope is going to be 3 over 4. All right, 3 over 4, which when you divide that, you get 0.75. El de arriba me da 3 sobre 4, el de arriba. La función A, cuando el slope me va a dar 3 sobre 4, que cuando lo divido me da 0.75. Y el slope de función B es 5 sobre 2, que cuando lo divido me da 2.5. The slope for function B is 5 over 2, which when I divide it is going to give me 2.5. So obviously the slope of function A is less than the slope of function B. El slope de función A es menos que el slope de función B. Okay, and then we got the next part is asking about the y-intercept. Okay, así que aquí tenemos que comparar el y-intercept. The y-intercept of function B is -2. And for function A, I got to work it out. El y-intercept de función B es -2. Para función A lo tengo que encontrar. Alright, so we said the slope was 3 over 4. So now I'm going to substitute let's substitute the 8 and the 3. Okay, voy a sustituir el 8 y el 3. Okay, so you do 8 divided by 4, which is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 8 dividido por 4 me da 2 y 2 por 3 me da 6. And now just move the 6 to the left by subtracting. So b equals negative 3. B igual a negativo 3. So the slope of function a is negative 3. The slope de función a is negativo 3. And in function b it's negative 2. So function I'm sorry, I keep saying the slope. I meant to say the y-intercept. No es slope, el y-intercept. Disculpen. Okay, so the y-intercept is the y-intercept for function a is negative 3, and that's less than the y-intercept of function b, which is negative 2. And on the top, this was the answer. Alright, we got 2 more and that's it. Dos más ejemplos y ya. Alright, so select all the statements that are true. First of all, the y-intercept. Alright, so let me start with function a. And let me just work everything out, because we're going to have to no matter what. So the slope is 6 over 4. 6 over 4, which is going to equal 3 over 2. Okay, so for function a, we got y equals 3 over 2x plus b. Okay, el slope de función a es 6 sobre 4, que cuando lo simplifico me da 3 sobre 2. And let me just continue over here. So function a y equals 3 over 2x plus b. So to find the y-intercept, let's substitute, I don't know, 10 and 19 for x and y. Para encontrar el y-intercept voy a sustituir 10 y 19 para x y y. So over here, 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 times 3 is 15. 10 dividido por 2 me da 5. 5 por 3, 15. Alright, so that means that the y-intercept is going to be 4. El y-intercept es 4. So this is my equation. And now, if they want to know the y value when x equals negative 8, let me plug in negative 8. Para saber el valor de y cuando x es igual a negativo 8, voy a sustituir negativo 8. So 3 over 2 times negative 8 plus 4. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Negative 12 plus 4, y is going to equal negative 8. Ok, negativo 8 dividido por 2 me da negativo 4. Negativo 4 por 3, negativo 12. Y negativo 12 más 4, negativo 8. So if we compare that to when x equals negative 8 in function b, when x equals negative 8, y equals negative 6. Okay? So in function a, y equals negative 8, and that's less than the y value of function b when x equals negative 8. Because in function a, when x equals negative 8, y is also going to equal negative... Did I mess up? Oh my gosh. Yes, I did mess up. Oh, no, I'm fine. I got confused. No, I did it right. Okay, in function a, when x equals negative 8, y equals negative 8. And in function b, when x equals negative 8, y equals negative 6. So this would be the correct answer for out of the bottom two. En la función a, cuando x es igual a negativo 8, y es igual a negativo 8. Y en la función b, cuando x es igual a negativo 8, y es igual a negativo 6. Así que el valor de y en función a, cuando x es igual a negativo 8, es menos que el valor de y en función b, cuando x es igual a negativo 8. Alright, last one, el último ejemplo. Okay, so the y-intercept of function a, first of all, the y-intercept of function a is 0. El y-intercept de función a es 0. And for function b, I gotta work it out. So in function b, the slope is going to be 2 over 8. 2 over 8. which when you simplify that is going to be 1 over 4. Ok, así que el slope de función B sería 1 sobre 4. Alright, so I got y equals 1 over 4x plus b. So now let's substitute the 8 and the 0 for x and y to solve for the y-intercept. Okay, when I do that, I'm going to get 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. Alright, so b is going to equal negative 2. So the y-intercept is negative 2. And if I substitute x equals negative 8, I'm going to get, whoops, I meant to put, sorry. That's what happens when you're trying to go fast. I meant to put minus 2 there. Let me write that better. Alright, so 1 over 4 times negative 8 is going to be negative 8 over 4, which is negative 2. And negative 2 minus 2, y is going to equal negative 4. Sorry, that came out kind of sloppy, all of that work. So to backtrack, the y-intercept in function A is 0. The y-intercept in function B is negative 2. Okay, which I put right here. So for the top part, the y-intercept of function A is greater than the y-intercept of function B, but that's not one of the answers here. It says is less than or is equal to, and the correct answer is greater than. So since that's not one of the correct answers, neither one of the top two are right. They're both wrong. Let me put 2 X's here. Wrong and wrong. Okay, el y-intercept de función A es 0. Y eso es más grande que el y-intercept de función B, que es negativo 2. Así que ninguna de estas dos respuestas está correcta, porque la primera dice que es menos que y el segundo dice que es igual a. Alright, now let's look at the bottom part. Okay, for the bottom part, when they want us to compare the y values when x equals negative 8. So in function B, when x equals negative 8, y is going to equal negative 4. And in function A, when x equals negative 8, y is going to equal negative 2. And negative 2 is greater than negative 4. So the correct answer is the y value of function A when x equals negative 8 is greater than the y value of function B when x equals negative 8. Para la parte de abajo, cuando sustituimos negativo 8 en la función B, que lo hice aquí, me dio que y sería igual a negativo 4. Y cuando miramos este gráfico para función A, cuando x es igual a negativo 8, el valor de y es negativo 2. Y negativo 2 es mayor que negativo 4. Así que la respuesta correcta de los dos de abajo sería el valor de y de función A. El valor de y en función A cuando x es igual a negativo 8 es mayor que el valor de y en función B cuando x es igual a negativo 8. Guys, that's all the examples I'm doing for this IXL. It covers every single type of problem. So if you have any issues when you're doing this IXL, make sure to look at the video and just move around in the video until you find a problem like the one that you're doing, right? Ese era el último ejemplo. En este video estoy cubriendo todos los problemas, todos los tipos de problemas que tienen en este IXL. Así que si tienen problemas cuando lo están haciendo, simplemente miren el video y busquen un problema que luce como el problema que tienen y siguen mis pasos. Alright guys, that concludes this lesson. Remember, you got to get up to 100 points on the IXL. And it's due by 6 a.m. Thursday. 6 a.m. the next day you have my class, okay? Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next class.